Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. You are in for such a treat. If you listened to our show last week where I interviewed Rebecca Costa, who is a sociobiologist and futurist, she is a world-renowned expert on something called fast adaptation in complex environments. And one of the things we talked about in the last show was how human beings are naturally very, very adaptive, and this is what has enabled us to be a very successful species. And not only do we continue to adapt, but now technology has increased this exponentially. And the important word here is foresight. So how do we use foreknowledge for the good, for the right action, the right choices? Because as Rebecca Costa says, we can in many ways, through statistics, predict the future and the various correlates of the future. So how was that, Rebecca, for a very short summary of a half-hour show?
That's excellent.
Okay.
I think I should steal it. It's a wonderful summary.
I'm so glad. So there's so much here because we always say hindsight is 20/20. You know, who has foresight? And the fact that we can, through imagination and imagining consequences, by following through. And I had said to you in the last show that as a psychotherapist, I recognize and I see many people who really don't know the basics of even thinking consequentially. And so if I do this, this will happen. It's kind of like a really great chess game, and I think chess is a great game, and I think everyone should learn how to play it because it really does sharpen the mind along these lines. Would you say?
I do. I think when it comes to the future, most people are either fearful or they're in denial. You know, the future feels like something you can't control. When in fact, Mother Nature has designed human beings to have a pretty good idea of what the likely consequence of our actions are going to be.
Yeah.
And also to give us the ability to do something about it in the present, to avoid a danger or to get the jump on opportunity. And, a really good example is, unfortunately, these mass shootings, these school shootings, as we recently heard about in the Santa Fe High School in Texas as an example. The problem with the shootings, whether it's the massacre in Las Vegas or it's the recent school shooting, is once the event happens, we start working backwards. Mm-hmm. And we find that the people were depressed, they were on antidepressants, they were buying guns, they were posting all over social media that they were going to, act in a violent way. We see all these behavioral markers that were all leading up to criticality. But, of course, the problem we have today is that we work backwards from the tragedy.
Yes.
And what we've got to do now is we've got to figure out how to work forward and anticipate the tragedies so that we can head them off. And it turns out that we do have programs right now that can data mine for certain words, like danger words, right, that are associated with predicting suicide, heart disease, mass violence. Some of those words are hate, bored, depressed, mad, killed, dead, profanity, sick, tired, jealous, lonely, murder, idiot, sucks, bull, pain, pathetic, losers, crap, ignorant, never, destroy, worst, awful, hurt. We have a list. And these are exactly correlated to mass violence.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
On the other hand, we also have well-being words that predict people that are productive, healthy, happy. Those words are fantastic, travel, nature, friend, family, volunteer, love, vacation, great, nice, sweet, earn, hero, win, happy, joyful, excited, all, ever, every, world, beautiful, freedom. No, thank you. Ha ha. Ha ha is even a positive word. So by data mining, we can basically tell, right, what the person's outlook is and what their potential is, right, for committing a violent act. The real question that we don't have an answer to is, so what?
Yeah.
Right? So what? Let's say that I start monitoring the use of those words, and I know that they're highly correlated with a critical action. Well, am I going to be like Tom Cruise in Minority Report, and the precog police are going to come and sweep me away, and I haven't done anything yet?
Yeah.
You know?
Good question.
Even in the case of Stephen Paddock in Las Vegas,
yeah.
You know, even after he broke the window and pointed his gun at the concert goers, he might have had a change of heart. He could have changed his mind. Free will could have intervened. He could have put his gun down and said, I'm not going to do that, packed everything up and gone home. So we're struggling with foreknowledge and the fact that technology can be used to anticipate with high predictability that an action is going to take place. And then what the heck to do about it?
Yeah, yes. So let's just say right now we know that there are the mass shooters are loners, they're depressed, they're isolated, they're anxious, they have a history of failure, they've probably been bullied. So then, do we have enough health clinics in the world? I mean, to put these people there, and do we mandate it? And these are huge questions to ask a futurist, huh?
Well, they are very difficult questions because they bump up against our freedom and our privacy and our civil liberties.
Right.
You know, but in the case of Stephen Paddock, we could see that he moved, you know, something like 20 times in the last couple of years. He sent his girlfriend away and to another country and said, don't come back. He was accelerating the number of firearms he was buying. He had been on diazepam for 6 months. I mean, he had his father was a violent sociopath that was jailed by the FBI. So, and we know that those kinds of traits are heritable. So you can look at all of that stuff and say, all right, even if we knew all of it,
yeah,
you know, what would we do about it? Well, it's not clear to me what we do about it. You see, this is the interesting thing about foresight and where technology is going. Technology is capable of identifying and predicting who the potentially violent suspects are going to be.
Yeah. We're
able to do that now, but at what cost? You know, I don't think anybody wants to live in that world. And so this is where I think, you know, we have to have a conversation about it, because if we know who the people are and we know they're headed toward violence, do we have a moral obligation to stop them? Or do we have to just live with the fact that we have the technology to know what's going to happen, but we're not going to act on it?
Yeah, I'm thinking these are the very people who would not seek help or not want help or would resist help. And then you move into mandating, and then you get into the whole freedom issue again.
Yes, you do. You do, because they won't seek help. However, there's a new angle I'll introduce on this that is something that we should all keep our eye on and our ears open to. And that is the study of the human microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if everybody's going, what the heck is she talking about? What's the microbiome? That's just the 100 trillion living organisms in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that that's where chemicals like serotonin and dopamine and everything are actually produced and stored. And only about 10% of serotonin is really in the brain. We've been looking at the brain, but we haven't been looking at, under what conditions does the gut release serotonin?
Yeah.
And under what conditions does it signal the brain to release these chemicals that are responsible for making us feel optimistic and have a sense of well-being, right? Because we know that one of the treatments for depression is really the chemistry in the brain. That's what we've been dealing with over the last decade or so. So the idea is, well, if the chemistry is out of balance and out of whack, where are those signals coming from? And we have more and more evidence that it's coming from gut health.
Yes.
People that are depressed are chronically constipated. They chronically have upset stomach. There are known bacteria now, through studying the microbiome, we're discovering known organisms that are missing or overproducing in the gut of highly depressive people. And so now but believe me, there's 100 trillion of them. So we're barely scratching the surface of seeing how these organisms are related to autism, depression, schizophrenia, high activity and violence. We're trying to look at the relationship of gut health and through using Norwegian mice in laboratories, we're implanting fecal pellets that contain missing organisms for digestion and for signaling the brain to release these chemicals.
Yes, yes.
So this is a completely bleeding edge area of science right now. But I will tell you, I'm spending a lot of time going over those research papers because the connection between gut health and brain health and overall well-being and depression it absolutely exists. We just don't understand it.
And the shows with you are just flying, so I want to make sure I can get a couple of really important questions to me. And I love Perlmutter and the Grain Brain and all the emphasis now on gut health. So could we do a quick and dirty here, no pun intended, to take probiotics, to take prebiotics, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Probiotics, prebiotics, and listen to your gut health.
Yeah.
If you eat certain things and you hear sounds coming from your gut, right? Or they produce diarrhea, or your gut is producing constipation, or any of those things, those are signs that you're not giving the 100 trillion organisms in your gut what it wants, because it will reward you. When you feed it right, it will reward you.
How so?
And it rewards you by releasing serotonin and dopamine and feel-good drugs.
Right.
So we have to remember that we know what makes you feel happy and makes you feel good. It's chemical. Biochemical.
Right.
And if we can get those chemicals working right in people instead of working wrong, right, then that may be the way that we deal with a depression. Because more and more, you know how depression is going. I mean, it's skyrocketing.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So we have a pandemic in depression right now in this country. And more and more we're seeing that has something to do with gut health.
How about eating the standard American diet, which is mostly junk food, where the biggest vegetable is French fries? Your gut doesn't like it. No.
Well, let me offer something that's very far-fetched, and it'll give everybody kind of something to talk about tonight. And that is that there's a theory that these ancient organisms that reside in your gut couldn't survive in a hostile environment. They were the very first living organisms on the planet.